Okay, let's call this meeting of Haysville Planning Commission to order. The first item of business is roll call.
Azir,
Present.
Franken,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Coleman,
Here.
Atkins,
Here.
Plummer,
Here.
Blood.
Here. Next item of business is the presentation and approval of minutes of July 28, 2022.
Jonathan, were you able to look at that?
Yes, I was able to see, was able, like you had mentioned on page 2, third paragraph from the bottom, that should be, last sentence should be changed from, but was never reviewed, the land use should be changed from, but the land use was never reviewed.
Okay.
And then also on the third page, on the second paragraph, it should say feasible.
Okay, the last sentence of that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with the noted corrections.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? For people that
Me.
weren't here?
I guess I have to.
Next item of business is a special order public hearing to consider a zone change request from D light commercial with protective overlay 3 to D light commercial and BB 1 and 2 family district. To protect the rights of all parties involved and in order to create an opportunity for everyone to speak their opinions and present information, the Haysville Planning Commission follows a specific procedure in reaching a decision. A copy is available by the door. Your attention to this procedure is appreciated. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I make a motion to open public hearing.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We're now formally open for public hearing to consider a zone change request for the city of Haysville. Do any members of the Planning Commission have a conflict of interest in this case? If so, please disqualify yourself from further action in this case. Hearing none, we'll move on. Have any members received any written or electronic communication on this matter? Hearing none, we'll move on. Will staff please present the staff report?
Good evening. Before you is the staff report for the zone change request of property located at Lot 1, Block A, Peachwood, 9th Edition. The property is currently zoned D light commercial with a protective overlay 3. The property was platted on August of 2002. This was also one of the first protective overlays done by the city. The lot has been vacant for the last 20 years and has not sold as light commercial. The applicant purchased the property earlier this year and is requesting for a zone change from D light commercial protective overlay 3 to BB 1 and 2 family dwelling district to build duplexes that will be sold to homeowners. A public hearing was published on July 21st and letters were mailed to area residents. We received 2 comments regarding this zone change. On July 27th, Mrs. Norris from Peachwood Early Learning Center, located at 1401 West Grand Avenue, called asking about the location of the zone change before she gave the letter to her boss. I informed her of the location that was just north of 2nd Avenue and south of Casey's. On August 9th, Mr. Reich, residing at 246 Peachwood Drive, emailed me the following. My family resides at 246 Peachwood Drive. We have lived here since the house was built in 1992. We are opposed to zoning change request from D light commercial with protective overlay 3 to a 2-family district. Our property already backs up to duplexes on 2nd Street. Adding more rental properties to the neighborhood is disappointing. Our experience over the years has been tenants constantly changing, acting up, damaging property, and these rental properties are not maintained as well as the single-family homes in the neighborhood. This proposed change will lower the value and appeal of the neighborhood. The citizens of our neighborhood have opposed to this type of zoning change to this land in the past, and it's more than a little frustrating that we have to go through this again. I prefer that the zoning change not change, but if it must, I would consider a change to single family. Mark Reich. Although the request to the change of the zoning classification of this property does not align with the Meridian Corridor study of 2011, due to the current housing trends, as noted in the housing study from 2021, it does meet current housing trends. The BB district would create a buffer between the single-family resident and future light commercial development if the property to the north is developed. There is also a section of BB zoning districts to the south along West 2nd Street. Based off of the factual information, we recommend approval of this zone change.
Any commissioners have any questions for staff?
One thing I wasn't clear on is it take the whole lot from the south side to the north side? So does it go from the south, the easement on the south to the drainage ditch on the north?
You got a copy of the plat right there?
Yeah.
It's just that one lot.
It's just one lot.
The rest, the other two lots were made.
It's two separate lots that
Okay.
they didn't buy.
There's 3 lots in that plat though, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Jeff, do you have this?
It's just the south one, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is 1/3 of that
Correct.
vacant land. Okay.
Any more questions for staff?
Yeah, I'd like to, do you know if this is planned for sale or for rentals or what?
He was gonna do rentals at first and then eventually sell them.
Okay. Is this the same guy that you met with last time, or not last time, but previous?
No.
Over in, okay.
No.
Okay.
I had questions about the access points and how many would be allowed on the surface of the plat, and I think that's still unclear. But one thing I do want to get on the record is, if this platted opening that's on that center lot remains, then I'm gonna be opposed to the other 2 openings based on what I'm seeing on the face of the existing plat.
And the property would have to be replatted.
Regardless, after the zone change?
Well, it would have to go, I mean, reviewed and go
Okay.
through the subdivisions, and yes, there is some questions regarding that of how they would lay it out.
And I didn't read the whole face of the plat, but is there a cross-lot agreement on the face of that plat? Because it was commercial before.
This is really small.
Yeah.
Yes. I have it on my phone, so it's easier to see.
I would have to look at this a little bit more.
If they're gonna have to replat, we can take care of it then. It's, I think, not as important to the zone change discussion. Any other questions for staff?
Okay, just one more, that entire section of land, is that all commercial right now?
Correct. That is all light commercial currently.
Casey's is also light commercial, correct?
Yes.
With the protective overlay, or I think that one was removed, actually.
I
Casey's
think
was
that
removed.
protected, it was removed.
Yeah.
Any other questions for staff? Are the applicants or their agent present? Now is the time for any member of the public to speak. You have 5 minutes. If you are presenting good factual information, this time may be extended by vote. Please state your name and address at the podium before you speak. And we only have one, so I don't have to call you.
You're good. All right, so I'm Dustin Musgrove. I live at 241 Peachwood. I'm just seconding what Mark, which is in my neighborhood. We went and talked to pretty much everyone on the street. Everyone is pretty much opposed to the duplex portion. That's the word, the multifamilies is the concern that we have. As far as the light commercial, obviously that's what everyone would still like. But as it goes forward, we'd rather it be classified as single family, so that our property value, which is what everyone is kind of the concern about, if we put duplexes in there, property values will probably go down for most of our houses. Secondly, our other concern is we already have drainage issues there, so when it rains, all of our backyards are already flooded to a certain extent, and if we add more houses that drain towards that way, if we do more houses, we would like to see that at least addressed so that everything that runs off from them doesn't continue to flood ours even more and even maybe into the houses. As of now, it's just in the backyards, but that doesn't mean that that may change once new coding or new zoning happens. So basically, goals for the neighborhood from whatever I talked about is we would obviously like it to stay as is, but if it does go forward, we'd like it to be changed to single family instead of single and multifamily. Right. That's all I have.
So, let me talk to you about the drainage first.
Yeah.
The drainage is a problem, I understand, but whatever goes in there would have to address the drainage on their property and not
Correct.
impact yours negatively.
Okay.
So whether it's commercial or residential, that should be addressed when that property actually develops.
Okay.
The question I have for, if you're representing everyone, is from where we sit, commercial is a higher impact development. So multifamily buffer between the two, from a planning standpoint, makes more sense. Georgie, what's some of the things that could go into commercial without even having to come to us?
A restaurant, fast food restaurant, like a telecommunications store, I want to say like a beauty parlor, something like that, a service center that has higher traffic, higher density traffic than a home would.
Yeah, so hypothetically, you could be looking at the back of a strip center or Taco Bell, and the different things that come with that are not great. So from where I sit, somebody else's duplex backyard, if it was me, would be preferable to the back where the trash gets picked up from a strip center. So I don't know if you guys have discussed that.
No, because we never knew what could go in there, and we really didn't know the wording of what single and double family, when
So
we kind of looked at that.
Single family is just probably where you
Correct.
live.
Yeah, and that's what we were kind of hoping.
Yeah, the
due
problem for
to-
us is it's too small, and I can't allow that to go off a Meridian as a one-off. You could get maybe 2 lots in there, and
Well-
I don't think I would approve that because it doesn't make sense from a planning standpoint.
Yeah.
What makes sense is the commercial that we have and how it's zoned now.
Right, and the question that you brought up of where coming in and out, we also brought that up because it's already a nightmare during school going through there because of Second Street, and
Right.
if you add another one somewhere around there, you know, trying to get buses in, buses out, because the bus barn's right there, along with the one entrance that Freeman uses, we run into, you know, sometimes, like, there was a wreck there once this year, and it was a 45-minute wait to get to school, just because there's only one entrance, and Freeman only wants us to go in one way, so.
Yeah.
When you brought that up, that was another thing that was brought up about where,
I can tell you from a traffic standpoint, these 10 duplexes are gonna generate less traffic than the strip center that we were discussing earlier. I would also grant you that the strip center is gonna have an offset traffic peak that's gonna happen later, not gonna be open at 8 AM, but if it's a Taco Bell or McDonald's, those two are gonna be in the same place, and it's gonna be a nightmare.
yeah.
So, I'm just trying to make you understand all the things we're trying to consider
Absolutely, yeah.
as this being a buffer from commercial.
Yeah, and we never looked into the restaurants or anything like that. We were thinking, you know, some type of actual business there, like an 8 to 5 business, not necessarily.
Well, I mean, it could be a
It
bank.
could, yeah,
That, all of that is
in consideration.
allowed.
Yeah,
What our job is to look at worst case scenario. They don't even have to come to us and they can put that in, and we have no say, and neither do you.
right.
So I just want to make sure that we're understanding all of the different things that could happen, and maybe this is not the worst case scenario.
Okay.
additionally, when you think of fast food or strip mall or anything that could go in there, that's a lot of hard surface with no ground to absorb water, and so it would actually increase your flooding issues if it
That would
was.
have to be taken care of as a drainage plan.
Yeah, but it
You gotta
still-
release at the same rate that you were before. It's the requirement, it's county. So it has to be done, and sometimes you have a weird skinny pond next to it to
True.
detain it so that it releases at a slower rate, but the way the rules are written now, regardless of what goes in there, you have to release the water from your site at the same place and at the same rate that it was before you developed it. So everybody's aware. Anybody else have questions for the member of the public? Anybody else from the public like to speak? Okay. I don't have a card for you, so fill one out, please, and then state your name and address for the record.
Tim, I wanted to clarify real quick, the ordinance should be in your packet that has objective overlay 3. I didn't glance at it real quick.
While we're waiting, you want to just give a brief review of what exactly those requirements are?
So the objective overlay 3, this was, like I said, this is one of the first ones that we did, so use is permitted. It has a different offices on there, retail stores, so accountant's office, architects, more office type, engineers, 8 to 5 hours probably. Some of these are maybe a little outdated on some of the types of businesses. Retail stores, artist, camera shop, drugstore, florist shop. So I mean, yeah, a drugstore, pharmacy, it could be, like any of the chains, Walgreens, stuff like that. Exceptions would be offices, retail stores, uses listed, maybe provided.
There are lighting requirements with that too?
I don't see any on here.
So they could have full parking lot lights, all of that? Unless it's
They'd have
restricted
to
otherwise?
comply with the landscaping, I mean.
Right,
with the-
but they could still have,
Exterior lighting fixtures shall be shaded so that direct light is directed away from adjacent residential areas. So that is on there.
okay. I think we're ready for you now, sir.
So I'm Mark Reich, and I've lived here since we built our house in '92.
You're the letter we heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to make sure everybody's aware.
The overlay, you know, that was the important part of getting this changed last time, is to make sure that overlay was there. Just like the Casey store, you know, it's got a brick front on it, and the dentist office is nice, and you know, it just, the appeal of the neighborhood is kept because of the overlay, and that's part of the zoning that we liked. Now, you know, I know this isn't Southampton and it's not Timberlane North, but, you know, we care about where we live. And we don't want to change the appeal of our neighborhood. And, you know, value aside, you know, we got young families growing up here. You know, my kids were raised here. I've lived here all my life. And I really don't want to see things change in our neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
So Tim, reviewing this, I just want to clarify that use is listed under D, so it would not be able to have a drive-up window type establishment for
Okay.
fast food. Sorry.
Any other member of the public wish to speak? I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing. Second?
Motion and second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Public comment is now closed for commission action, and the floor is open to commissioners' comments regarding the following criteria. I'm not going to read them. Any other general discussion on once you're done reading all the criteria. Anybody, any discussion at all? Thoughts?
You were kind of touching on the access to this area. It looks like there's just one entrance, one exit.
Yeah, the plat's a little unclear. What it looks to me like, it was intended to be just that one platted opening, and everything would be served off of that, like a commercial lot where you have one driveway and shared access across. It's old enough that it's unclear to me, and that would definitely get, if this is approved, have to be addressed during the replat. And the spacing alone with what we have been shown is not acceptable.
Yeah.
So that would have to be addressed, but what we're really considering is the zone change itself, not the layout that we're looking at.
Okay. Understood.
I think my main concern was the traffic at Freeman,
Yeah.
but with the protective overlay, I guess it kind of restricts a little bit on the commercial side.
Some of it, I think we are just gonna be stuck with. You know, this opening that is platted is gonna be where it is unless we replat the whole property. Some of the drives that some of the businesses here in town are not great, and they're too close to intersections, and until somebody wants to change them, there's just not much we're gonna be able to do about it. But for something that's coming, we can control, we'll definitely make sure that it's spaced out far enough, and it's spaced out in the correct direction from offset across the street so that we don't create too many problems. I don't think we are too far away from that stretch of meridian getting widened in some form or fashion, just because of the traffic and development that's moving that way. I think the question is whether we think that if we leave it as commercial, that's going to develop, and that that's the way we prefer it developed. Or if we think this is a good buffer between the commercial and the residential. It is a possibility that if we approve this, they could bring the other two lots and try to get that approved as a zone change as well. That should all be on everyone's mind. If you are okay with a little bit of this, but not a lot of this, take that into your decision. I don't know that I want a small residential development, regardless of what size or configuration, coming directly off Meridian with no other access points to get in from the backside. That part of it seems like a traffic potential problem. But part of me thinks that this makes sense, and this is development that could help that area, because that's been vacant for as long as all of us have been here. And if this is the thing that develops and this is the thing that's wanted in the market, I think that's better for the city. But the question is whether this is the development we want.
I've heard people say that, that kind of housing is needed around here. People that have looked, like Amber from the office was looking for a duplex, and I think it was like $1,400 a month or something, because there wasn't really any available. But we also do have that new development going in over by the daycares that might help with that a little bit, so.
That's several developments that are on the verge of going in.
One thing also, we have another zoning change coming up at the next meeting in the same general area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, across from there.
So can we table this for now?
Really, this should stand on its own.
I know.
The fact that we have other developments that are similar coming in the future shouldn't affect our decision here.
All right.
And if you think this is the right land use for this particular piece of ground, then that
Alright.
should be the way you vote. If you don't think this is the right land use for that particular use of ground, then that should be the way you vote. And I'm happy to sit here and discuss this as long as you guys would like. Because I think it's important enough, and I think it's complex enough, that I don't know that I know what I want to do yet.
There's just so many unknowns, and I'm concerned about the other two pieces. What, you know, like you said, they may want to come back and buy those two and want to do the same thing. And I don't know if I'm okay with that.
Well, and that would have to be a separate item, public hearing,
Exactly.
all of that. And if that's the way we feel, then we can say, no, we're okay with a little bit, not a lot.
Yeah.
So that's well within our purview at this point. But if it's the number of, rather than the land use itself, that's really not what we should be considering, because it's not what's in front of us here.
Understood.
Anybody else have thoughts?
There wouldn't be any way to put 5 duplexes on that property and not have an extension into lot 2, right? Is that lot 2?
Whatever the middle lot is, 3.
Yeah, lot 2. Middle lot, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
you're right too.
You just about have to take lot 2 once one's done.
But it could go into commercial lot and have a shared access agreement that,
Correct, yeah, that's what I mean, it doesn't have to be shared homes, right? It could be something else. But, I mean, if it's laid out the way it is right here, you're gonna have a dead end.
I think my point is, it can't be laid out the way it is here, because that
Yeah.
access to Meridian doesn't exist on the face of the plat.
Yeah, I agree.
But, like I said before, the feasibility of this sketch isn't necessarily what we're talking about.
Okay.
That's what makes it harder.
Yeah, I know. Well, and it is perfectly possible that we approve this, but everything else we're talking about makes this whole property undevelopable and that land use. And I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really afraid of the most.
I mean, if we do vote against this, then they could come back and ask for this again, only with the additional pieces of the property shown just coming together. So we can look at it more holistically.
Yeah, that's true. That would explain some of the lingering questions that we have, whether this cross-lot access can work, whether, if you're gonna replat the whole thing at once and show us what the pieces and parts put together would look like.
And I'm not aware if he's planning on purchasing the other lots at
But he
all.
doesn't own them right now.
He does not own them right now. We'd probably suggest going through the 8 factors and base it off facts. And I know we didn't want to go all the way through those, but that might be the best way so that you guys have a factual reason for saying no.
Yeah, so, I guess I'll read it. Just trying to avoid this.
Or yes, sorry.
So if we say no, and the council goes no along with this, can this person come back at another time and try again?
They could apply for a different type of zoning change. Yes, so council could override your decision by 2/3 majority vote. They could send it back with questions or comments changes. I'm not really sure what they would say on this, but even if you approve it, council can override it by
Right.
2/3 vote.
Which they've done before.
So yes, council does have the final decision.
But my question is, if the decision is no with us and the council, can the property owner come back later and say, let's try this again?
They could file an appeal, I'd have to look up that process, but they could file an appeal of why it was denied. That's why I highly suggest we go through the 8 facts and,
I'll do that now. So, number one, zoning uses and character of the neighborhood. The subject, I'm just gonna read staff comments about these. Is that what you want, Georgie?
yep,
Subject property is vacant and not being used. Adjacent properties are zoned D light commercial to the north, A single family to the south, A single family to the east, D light commercial to the west. It's not uncommon for this area to have BB 1 and 2 family dwelling districts. Suitability of the subject property for the uses to which it has been restricted. The property is currently zoned D light commercial with protective overlay 3. Extent to which the removal of the restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby property. Property is currently surrounded by light commercial lots and adjacent to single-family district. Staff does not foresee the detrimental impacts to nearby property if the request is granted. The property will be 1 and 2 family dwelling district and has the same size, height, and setback regulation of the existing zoning. Length of time subject property has remained vacant as zoned. Property is platted Peachwood 9th, August 15th, 2002. It's been vacant for 20 years and last sold in this year. Relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare as compared to the loss in value or the hardship imposed on the applicant. The health, safety, and welfare matters associated with this proposed BB 1 and 2 family dwelling district zoning should not be significantly different than those associated with existing D light commercial zoning with protective overlay 3. Conformance of the requested change to the adopted or recognized comprehensive plan. Haysville's land use plans identifies the property as residential, does not differentiate between economic development and housing choices. So even though it's zoned light commercial, in our land use plan, we identified it as a residential, probably to create a buffer between that and whatever industrial or light commercial will remain. The comprehensive plan provides the following goal for housing: provide a variety of housing choices for current and future populations. Number 7, impact of the proposed development on community facilities. Municipal water and sewer are available to the property. Municipal services such as police and fire protection are already provided in the area, and no additional burden is anticipated that cannot be accommodated with existing resources. This lot is located east of Meridian, a 2-lane highway, and south of West Grand Avenue. Opposition or support of neighborhood residents. One owner has indicated their opposition to this change. I think we could amend that to say 2 owners and the neighborhood representative.
yeah.
Recommendation of staff. Staff recommends approval of the zone change request as requested, although the request to change the zoning classification of this property does not align with the Meridian Corridor study from 2011 due to the current housing trends as noted in the state housing study from 2021 does meet the current housing needs. Any other discussion?
Can I still share something? I don't know if this matters.
Technically, no, because we already closed the public hearing. Sorry. but
That's okay.
If there's any other discussion, if not, I would entertain a motion. No brave soul. Somebody's gotta make a motion one way or the other.
All right, I'll make a motion that we decline the change of the zoning classification on this property.
So do not approve the zone
Correct.
change?
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second to not approve the zone change. We will vote by roll call. Jonathan, you gonna call it off?
Yep. Azir,
I vote nay on the declination.
Franken,
Nay.
Coleman,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Plummer,
No.
and Blood.
No.
What's the count?
4-3, 4 noes, 3 yeses.
4 noes, 3 yeses against, which would convert to 4 yeses for zone change. Correct?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to count with, but
Okay. Any new business? Any old business? Correspondence? Committee update? Off agenda?
Tim, sorry to backtrack, but I think we do have to have a separate motion since that motion was denied. I think we do have to have a separate motion to approve it.
Okay.
Sorry,
No, you're right.
I'm getting my
It's been a
brain.
while.
Yeah,
So that motion failed.
motion failed. Do need to have a second.
Somebody else needs to make a motion in the affirmative in a second.
I move that we approve of the zone change request from D Light Commercial with protective overlay in the BB family district at this property.
No. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Have a motion and second to approve the zone change. John?
Azir,
Yes.
Franken,
Yes.
Williams,
No.
Coleman,
No.
Atkins,
No.
Plummer,
No.
Blood.
No.
What does that count? I didn't-
5-2. 5 noes to 2 yeses.
So it's,
So there was
Okay,
confusion
so-
before, obviously, on what to say before, on yay or nay, right?
This was to approve the zone change.
yes, it was. And if you were confused, that's fine. My question is, I'm forgetting Robert's rules, but can you second a motion and then vote against it? I'm not sure that I know that.
I'm not sure I know that.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, this is quite a disaster.
Because that was for deny of the zone change, correct? That was,
No, that was to approve the zone change just now. The first one was to decline the zone change.
okay.
And that was defeated.
Correct.
So we'll need to look that up.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it.
I'm doing it now too. think I got it. Person who seconds the motion has neither claim to the motion nor any obligation to agree with the motion.
That was my confusion on Robert's Rules of Order. I just thought it was a vote. So when each person would say yes or
Yeah, I
no,
think
but
that's
if we
what
need
this
a
is.
separate.
Yeah, that's what
No,
it is.
I think that's what this is saying. You can second a motion and vote it either way.
Yeah, well, that's the way I took it. so.
Okay, well, you were correct. I just didn't know. So,
So motion denied.
yes,
Okay.
that is our recommendation to council. I don't even remember where we were. Committee update?
Yeah.
No one else does? Off agenda is where we actually were. No off agenda? Item 10.
I'd make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Thank you. Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor?
I-
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.